Before Gucci became the worldwide symbol of luxury and drama, it started as a small leather goods store in Florence, Italy. It was the dream of a young man named Guccio Gucci, who had a keen eye for style and elegance. In the early 1900s, Guccio worked as a porter at the Savoy, a famous hotel in London. While working there, he saw how the rich and powerful dressed and carried themselves. It wasn't just the clothes, they had a certain presence. That experience left a strong impression on him and inspired him to bring a sense of luxury back to Italy. In 1921, Guccio opened his own store in Florence. He sold high-quality leather goods like saddles and travel bags, mainly to wealthy Italians. But what made his products special was the combination of expert Italian craftsmanship with the classy style of English nobility. People loved it, and soon, Gucci's items were popular among Europe's upper class. Guccio's sons, Aldo, Vasco, Ugo, and Rodolfo, joined the family business. After Guccio passed away in 1953, Aldo took the lead. He had big dreams and saw Gucci not just as an Italian brand, but as something that could shine around the world. That same year, Aldo opened the first Gucci store in New York City. It was perfect timing. After World War II, Americans were fascinated with European luxury, and Gucci quickly became a favorite among celebrities and the wealthy. Jacqueline Kennedy famously carried a Gucci handbag that would later be named the Jackie. Stars like Elizabeth Taylor, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra also fell in love with the brand. From the 1950s to the 1970s, Gucci represented elegance and success. Its double G logo, horsebit loafers, and signature green-red-green stripes became iconic. Gucci opened stores in Paris, Beverly Hills, Tokyo, and more. It wasn't just a fashion brand, it was a cultural icon. But trouble was brewing behind the scenes. As the company grew, so did the tension in the family. Aldo's strong control over the business and favoritism toward his sons created tension with his brother, Rodolfo. Legal battles broke out, and soon family members were fighting each other in court. When Rodolfo died, his son Maurizio took over, but he struggled to lead. The company started losing its shine. Quality went down, products became too common, and the brand started losing its exclusive feel. While the family fought behind closed doors, something even worse was coming. The downfall of Gucci wasn't caused by outside competition, but by the family itself. And eventually, tragedy struck. Maurizio was murdered, and the scandal shocked the world. Gucci had started as a small shop on the streets of Florence, but over time, it became a story of luxury, fame, greed, and betrayal. And at its peak, it stood dangerously close to falling apart completely. The downfall of Gucci wasn't caused by outside competition, but by the family itself. And eventually, tragedy struck. Maurizio was murdered, and the scandal shocked the world. Gucci had started as a small shop on the streets of Florence, but over time, it became a story of luxury, fame, greed, and betrayal. And at its peak, it stood dangerously close to falling apart completely. When Maurizio Gucci took over the famous Gucci fashion brand, it was supposed to be a fresh start, full of big ideas and luxury. But instead, it became the final chapter in a family story full of jealousy, backstabbing, and broken relationships. Maurizio was the only son of Rodolfo Gucci and the grandson of Gucci's founder, Guccio Gucci. When Rodolfo died in 1983, Maurizio inherited half of the company, but he didn't want just half, he wanted the whole thing. The only thing standing in his way was his powerful uncle, Aldo Gucci. Aldo had helped make Gucci a global success and wasn't about to hand it over to his young nephew without a fight. This led to a nasty legal battle. There were lawsuits, secret plans, and power plays. In 1984, Maurizio teamed up with wealthy investors and clever lawyers to kick Aldo out of the company. It worked. Aldo was pushed out, embarrassed, and left behind. Maurizio was now the head of Gucci, but winning control didn't mean everything went well. Aldo was a tough businessman who focused on growth and profits. Maurizio, on the other hand, was more of a dreamer. He cared more about style and reputation than making money. He wanted Gucci to be as fancy as Chanel or Dior, but he didn't have the skills to make that happen. Under Maurizio's leadership, spending went out of control. He moved Gucci's offices into a fancy old building in Milan, spent money on luxury renovations, flew in private jets, and held flashy parties. The brand lost focus. Designers kept changing, the product line became confusing, and the image of Gucci started to fade. While Maurizio was busy trying to make Gucci look glamorous, the business was falling apart. Sales dropped, stores struggled, and the brand lost the clear identity it once had. Inside the company, there was fighting and low morale. What used to be a strong, family-run business became a mess. Meanwhile, Maurizio's wife, Patrizia Reggiani, was watching everything fall apart. At first, their relationship seemed like a love story. Patrizia came from a humble background, but had big ambitions. After marrying Maurizio in 1972, she quickly became known as Lady Gucci, attending events and even influencing some business decisions. But as Maurizio rose to power, he grew distant from Patrizia. In 1985, without warning, he left her and their two daughters. He didn't even tell her himself. Their once glamorous marriage turned into a painful and very public breakup. To make things worse, Patrizia lost all her influence in the company. Maurizio surrounded himself with new people and started dating someone younger. Patrizia, feeling rejected and powerless, became angry and bitter. By 1993, Maurizio had driven Gucci into financial trouble. The company was deeply in debt, stores were underperforming, and he had no plan to fix it. Finally, he was forced to sell his remaining shares to an investment firm called Investcorp for $170 million. That deal ended the Gucci family's involvement with the brand for good. For the first time since 1921, no one from the Gucci family owned a part of it. Maurizio had won control of the company, but lost everything else. And the worst was still to come. In Milan, Patrizia Reggiani was plotting revenge. In her mind, Maurizio had betrayed her, and she believed only one thing could make it right: his death. For years, Patrizia Reggiani lived a glamorous life in the world of Gucci. She didn't come from money or a famous family, but once she married Maurizio Gucci in 1972, it was like she was born for luxury. She wore diamonds, designer clothes, and made sure everyone noticed her. Friends say she didn't just walk into a room, she made an entrance. For more than 10 years, she stood beside Maurizio as the Queen of Gucci. But money and power don't last forever. In 1985, Maurizio suddenly left Patrizia without a real explanation. The man she had built a life with, raised kids with, and helped through the complicated world of the Gucci brand was gone. And it wasn't for peace or clarity. He left her for a younger woman. As he worked to rebuild the Gucci brand in his own image, he slowly pushed Patrizia out of his life. To Patrizia, this wasn't just painful, it was humiliating. Their divorce became nasty and drawn out. Patrizia demanded a large monthly allowance to keep up her lifestyle. But even though she still lived in luxury, it wasn't enough for someone who had once been at the top of Milan's social scene. She hated that Maurizio was spending freely, that he had a new partner, and most of all, that he still had all the power over the company, the money, and her life. Meanwhile, Maurizio was making poor business decisions and slowly losing control of Gucci. Patrizia grew more bitter. She believed he didn't deserve the Gucci name anymore. Her anger turned into an obsession, and that obsession started to twist into something darker. Patrizia had a strange circle of people around her. One of them was Giuseppina Pina Auriemma, a self-described psychic and close friend. Pina listened when no one else did. Together, they began talking about revenge. Quiet chats over coffee turned into serious conversations. Patrizia didn't just want Maurizio ruined, she wanted him gone forever. Pina helped arrange things. They found a few shady people to help, a getaway driver, a hitman, and someone who claimed he could handle the details. It wasn't a smart plan. It wasn't even very secret, but it was dangerous. They met in cheap hotels and backstreet cafes, places far from the glamorous world Patrizia once ruled. She talked about justice, about how Maurizio had destroyed her. She didn't just want him dead. She wanted everyone to know she had the last word. Then, the day came. March 27th, 1995. It was a cool spring morning in Milan. Maurizio Gucci arrived at his office like usual. As he walked in, someone shot him. 3 bullets hit his back. 1 hit his head. He died on the spot. The killer ran away. Italy was shocked. The last Gucci to run the family business had been murdered in broad daylight. The news exploded. Was it a business deal gone wrong? A robbery? A revenge story? No one thought it was Patrizia. Not yet. She kept showing up at social events, calm and composed. She wore black, but never cried. When asked about Maurizio's death, she simply said, "My eyesight is better now. The world is finally in focus." Behind her dark sunglasses, she smiled. But in Milan, secrets don't stay hidden forever. Police started digging deeper. They uncovered clues, psychic readings, stacks of cash, and a plan driven by rage. Patrizia Reggiani, once the Queen of Gucci, had turned her heartbreak into hate. And she wasn't done yet. She had just begun. Maurizio Gucci's murder shocked Italy and the entire fashion world. He was a member of the famous Gucci family, gunned down in broad daylight right outside his office in Milan. It was the kind of story that made instant headlines. The police started investigating right away, but there weren't many clues, and no one really knew why he was killed. Months passed, and the killer seemed to have disappeared without a trace. But quietly, behind the scenes, detectives were putting the pieces together. Strange rumors started to spread. Unpaid debts, odd phone calls, and even a psychic who accidentally revealed too much. Then, in 1997, 2 years after the murder, the truth came out, and it made front-page news all over the world. Maurizio's ex-wife, Patrizia Reggiani, had planned the entire thing. Her arrest was like a scene from a movie. Reporters surrounded her as police took her from her fancy apartment. She wore a fur coat, big sunglasses, and expensive jewelry, more like a celebrity on the red carpet than someone being arrested for murder. People couldn't look away. The media called her the Black Widow. Newspapers and tabloids were obsessed with her cold attitude, her rich lifestyle, and her sharp, sometimes shocking quotes. When someone asked her why she didn't kill Maurizio herself, she replied, "My hands are too delicate for that kind of work." Then came the trial, one of the most talked about in Italy's history. Even in court, Patrizia made sure she looked stylish. She wore Gucci clothes, even though she was accused of killing the man behind the brand. Her lawyers tried to say she wasn't in her right mind because of a brain tumor, but the evidence against her was strong. Recordings, money trails, and testimonies from others involved in the crime. The prosecutors said Patrizia was jealous and angry. She couldn't handle losing her status in the Gucci family, especially when Maurizio moved on with another woman. The jury believed it. In 1998, she was found guilty and sentenced to 29 years in prison. Her psychic, the shooter, and the others involved were also convicted. Even in jail, Patrizia remained a strange figure. She gardened, kept a pet ferret named Bambi, and once said she preferred prison over working a regular job. But while her life fell apart, something surprising was happening at Gucci. The brand, once nearly ruined by Maurizio's poor business decisions, was coming back to life. In the mid-1990s, after the Gucci family was pushed out of the company, a new team took over. Domenico De Sole became CEO, and Tom Ford became the head designer. At that time, Gucci had lost its spark. It wasn't cool anymore. Tom Ford changed that fast. he brought a bold, sexy, and modern look to the brand. His 1995 collection, featuring sleek designs and daring styles, was a hit. Fashion magazines praised him. Celebrities loved it. Sales soared. De Soleil cleaned up the business side. He made sure everything ran smoothly and that Gucci's products were high quality again. Together, Ford and De Soleil made Gucci one of the hottest fashion labels in the world. By the early 2000s, Gucci was back on top, stylish, powerful, and iconic. The twist? The Gucci family had nothing to do with its success anymore. The name Gucci still stood for luxury and fashion, but the people behind the brand were no longer related to the family. The company had become a global empire, rebuilt by outsiders after being nearly destroyed by scandal and greed. In the end, the story of Gucci is more than just one of fashion and murder. It's a tale of pride, power, jealousy, and survival. A brand that symbolized elegance was almost torn apart by the very people who gave it its name. But out of all that chaos, Gucci came back stronger, reborn, reimagined, and more powerful than ever. The name still shines. The past still lingers.